we talk about that star power in women's hoops, we got to talk about this story that dropped yesterday. Caitlin Clark gets a $5 million offer from Ice Cube and the Big Three to play in the Big Three before she debuts in the WNBA. She's already declared for the WNBA draft. The way it's set up, it would be $5 million essentially for 10 games, and those last two may conflict with. I'm sure the Indiana. I think the Fever are choosing her number one. I'll go out on a limb, right? But whatever games, those last two games would be the only conflict. So in essence, 8-ish games for $5 million. I've heard a lot of debate about this and conversation. What do you think about this offer that Ice Cube made?
Yeah, first of all, I think I'll jump right into exactly what I think should happen.
Yes,
if Caitlin can get to the WNBA and they have no problem with her doing this, then yes, I think she should do it. I think it'd be fun, and selfishly, I would say you should take that money because the amount of money, I mean, she's going to be making a ton of money off the court. Like, there's going to be tons of deals. For like, people are bringing up the WNBA salary being $350K. That shit is irrelevant. She can play for free in the WNBA. That's just going to be a vessel for her to create a bunch of money off the court with Nike and the rest of the gang, right? State Farm. We see her doing those commercials. But it would be interesting to see her play against men for this amount of money and not have it really conflict with the WNBA. Now, I think people, let's be honest, Jeff, I think people are tap dancing around the like, can she actually compete with the dudes in the Big Three? Like, from an actual hooping
NBA
standpoint.
stars, yeah.
Yes, like, no one really ever, people don't want to say nothing crazy and get out of pocket, but the half-court game is also very interesting. I mean, she's going to be playing all perimeter for the most part. I don't really see her doing too much down by the basket, but I'm not saying she wouldn't give that a try. It's a really interesting thing when it comes to the actual hoops. Now,
Right.
If we're talking about a marketing thing for Ice Cube and the Big Three, it's a win-win because there's a high chance that she doesn't take it, but it was out there. She offered the money, and it's a way for the Big Three to be talked about like we're talking about it right now, and it's a way for Ice Cube to say, hey, I'm just trying to get the best talent, the best eyeballs in here around the Big Three, and I'm giving a woman an opportunity to compete against potentially the opposite sex that a lot of people would be interested in tuning in to see. So
Right.
It's interesting. There's a lot of dynamics with this because I wonder, like, would people would try to go at her in this? Like, there's a lot. There's a lot of dynamic that makes this very interesting. I'm gonna tell you this. How about this? Like, let's just call it this. I'll watch. Let her show up to the big. I've never watched the Big Three game in my life. I would watch the Big Three if Caitlin Clark was out there running point guard with 5 other males on the floor for 20x her salary for 8 games. That's going to be in the WNBA. I think it'd be interesting. Now, is the WNBA going to allow it? I think that's the semantics thing, because that's why it's genius from Ice Cube, right? If he knows the WNBA is not going to let her do this, he could have said $20 million.
Right.
Right. He could have said any number he wanted because
yeah.
she's never going to pick the Big Three over the WNBA. But I think it's very interesting. Is it risky? Sure. The injury potential as well is there. A lot of different things, but personally, if she gets the yes from the WNBA and could still do everything she wants to do with WNBA, get drafted, be number one, go ahead and start the season and participate in the WNBA, I think to not tap dance around, I think what a lot of people are tap dancing around, if you want to move the women's game forward and we talk about how competitive and how good the basketball game is, if she were to do really well against men in the Big Three in the half court, I think that would say a lot about the women's game of basketball.
Right.
So it would be interesting. I would watch. Let's see how it shakes. But something tells me the WNBA is not going to let her play. The NBA runs the WNBA.
Right.
The Big Three is competition with the NBA.
Right.
Why there's no positive in letting her play in the big three, but it would be interesting to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel you on that, Bob. For me, it's definitely, to me, this is a strategic clout chase by Ice Cube, right?
For sure.
And I call it a clout chase because that's what businesses do. They chase the clout of people who have a following in order to bring more eyeballs and to pay for their services so that you expand the name recognition in the brand that you're promoting, right? So with the big three, this is also a little bit petty towards the NBA because there was a probe on the NBA because they were pressuring players, allegedly saying that they were pressuring players and partners and advertisers not to rock with the big three. So they know this is a chess move, right? We offer Caitlin Clark $5 million. If y'all do anything to try to stifle her, if she wants to do it, then it proves that probe right. And now they can probably get even more money from you, or they got to go into a settlement. I think for the spectacle wise, I think it works. Caitlin Clark has practiced against men, has played on teams, hooping against men. This ain't nothing new. And also, with the way she's being exalted in the media, they've already created a dynamic where, you know, people on social, people in general are haters. They're gonna want to see her fail, and there's this swelling sense of, is she entitled? Does she really deserve it? Yeah, she's breaking every single record, but there's other people who've actually won titles in college that should be getting certain shine too. And we get into these conversations. So she's almost in a league like the WNBA that has been developing those villains in every team. She would be one coming in where people would want to see her fail or would want to actively root against her. And that's where you get a lot of the growing of the fan base and the competition. Like I was laughing last year during the WNBA finals when I saw people trying to discredit Stewie because they lost the finals. And I said, yo, you know, we've advanced in a society where y'all are irrationally critiquing women's hoops like y'all do the NBA. Like I was like, it's messed up, but I think we've crossed the Rubicon and like in a positive direction because people are actually invested in the game. Do I think she's gonna do it? No. I think as a WNBA rookie, you don't want to put in jeopardy anything that you may have towards building a WNBA foundation. There's also, I saw this sentiment and I do agree, there's also something to say about taking that $5 million and enticing former WNBA stars to put their own big three team together. Then we get that, like that episode of A Different World on Martin where they had to hoop against Lisa Leslie. I think it was Martin when they had to hoop against Lisa Leslie and them. Yeah. Like then you get something like that, but with professional athletes who have been proven. So I do think if Ice Cube may be on to something. If he doesn't get Caitlin Clark, see if you could get some of the former WNBA stars to get a big three team. And then we have that battle of the sexes, which will finally draw viewers like you who probably never watched a big three game, but would watch the spectacle. Because big three is selling a spectacle. Former hoopers hooping against each other that you used to love and admire. Now you're talking about the best of the WNBA legends versus the best of the NBA legends that are going to hoop in the big three. I think it's something worth watching.
Yeah, I think overall, there's more downside to this for Caitlin than upside because the only upside is the $5 million, and she's going to make plenty of money off the court. So it's just one of those risk reward type of things. I think overall, there's more negative to be had here than positive gained outside of the $5 million.
I'd love to see it if they moved, because part of the selling point I think is that it happens during the summers, where the WNBA players usually go overseas to go hoop. And because of the Brittany Griner situation and just the fact that you got to go work another job in order to play professionally to supplement the salary that you're making stateside, maybe it is something where you get those WNBA stars, you give them mad bread to stay here and hoop in a spectacle as opposed to having to go overseas, right? Like there's different ways that it can go, but I do think, I will agree with you, I don't think you put your WNBA rookiedom in jeopardy for a spectacle, at least not now. Like you don't got to be doing that. You don't got to be doing that now. See her in 15 years. 15 years, that by that time, you might get a real spectacle, right? Caitlin Clark going to hoop with the big three, cashing in her big three contract 15 years later. That might be something, but I don't think now, I don't think so.